Okay, welcome. I'm Chris Jeffords, Senior Vice President at Oxford Computer Group North America, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's PKI Health Check webinar. Today, we'll introduce you to our PKI Health Check service and how it can help your organization understand your current state of your PKI environment and identify any major supportability issues as well as security vulnerabilities and how that service helps you do those things. So during the course of this webinar, I'll kick it off by briefly introducing Oxford Computer Group for those of you who do not know us. At that point, I'll turn it over to Jake Granleonard. He's a senior consultant here, specializing in FIM certificate management and public key infrastructure services. And then from there, I will close with some information on our upcoming events and open it up to questions. However, throughout the course of this webinar, feel free to type questions into the question dialogue, and we'll stop to answer those as necessary. And we'll also have a few poll questions for you at the end of the webinar. So, and they'll kind of bring some of the things we talk about to light for you. So, introduction to Oxford Computer Group. So Oxford Computer Group is a systems integrator and educator. We focus specifically on identity and access and device management, and those solutions within the Microsoft solution stack. We're Microsoft's Partner of the Year in Identity and Security Access. We're their winner in this area for the past 2 years, which is unfounded, and we're very proud of that. Through our services, we author and deliver a number of educational services online, as well as in the classroom, where well over 7,000 students have benefited from the experience our consultants gain in the field day after day. So they're in the field integrating these environments, these technologies, and they take those learnings into the classroom for you. We also provide consultative envisioning, which helps organizations visualize their identity and access management strategy and the benefits of that strategy, and help them map that path forward. And through that, we even extend it into proof of concepts and pilot deployments that help in their evaluation of these technologies and solutions, and that helps them in their selection process. And with these, we've completed well over 500 of these in recent history. And finally, we execute on those integration plans, things that come from those strategies, as we have in over 800 enterprise-wide deployment projects. Jake, can you back up one, please? So we've done this in well over 800 enterprise-wide deployments, and we provide professional as well as managed services here. So we do offer a number of managed services that help clients maintain and sustain those environments, so they can focus their people on their core competencies rather than maintaining some of this infrastructure. So we specialize in directory and federation, identity management, and rules-based access control, directory cleanup and consolidation, strong auth and device management, as well as data protection. And the products that these specializations stand on top of include Microsoft Active Directory, ADFS, Forefront Identity Manager, including the Behold Suite, System Center as it relates to identity and device management, AD Rights Management Service, along with Microsoft's other products that are included in the Enterprise Mobility Suite. So for those of you who are not aware of them, that includes Active Directory, Azure Active Directory Premium, Intune, the multi-factor authentication capability, as well as Azure Rights Management Service. And you can see across the bottom here we have a partner ecosystem that we partner with to deliver these services in a combined stack. And this includes obviously Microsoft, StealthBits, Optimal IDM, Gemalto, Talus, HID, Titus, and many others, including some integration partners. So, and before I turn it over to Jake, I'd like to draw your attention to the upcoming Redmond Summit. Here you can meet with the best and brightest in this space and all the technologies we specialize in, and get the latest information on these evolutions, and as this part of the industry undergoes this amazing transformation ahead of us. And as you can see here, the summit is on the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington, January 27th through the 29th. and you use a Summit 100 coupon code at checkout from our website, and you can get $100 off if you register by November 1st. And they're going quick, so seats are limited, they're going quickly, so you want to go to our website and register for that as soon as you can. And now, without further delay, I would like to introduce Jake Grandleonard.
Thank you, Chris. So today I wanted to talk to you about the PKI Health Check and what it can do for you and your company, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to start off first with talking a little bit of how organizations find themselves in a situation where they have an unmanaged or unmanageable PKI. The PKI technology as it stands on the Microsoft platform is relatively easy to roll out and stand up. Add the role, and if you do the standard next all the way through, what you end up with is just a certificate authority that can issue certificates that has all the default settings, which, depending on the version, can be more damaging than others. From that, the certificates that are issued, users that get those, since most people don't really understand a PKI or how certificates work, they view all certificates as the same. So in your internal environment, a certificate issued by one of these, I'll call them rogue PKIs or certificate authorities, is viewed as carrying the same weight as one possibly that was well thought out and put out there with due diligence and process behind it. So this is evident by how many times do we see users just simply clicking through certificate warning in their web browser. So it happens all the time, and people don't really pay that attention to those. The certificate demand today has grown quite a bit over the past couple of years between applications and devices. The usage of certificates has grown enough that we're seeing a lot more management needed in those areas to keep track of those certificates. So as the demand has increased, looking at the ways that a company can be proactive in managing those certificates, and regardless of how they're choosing to deliver those to the end users, whether it be an internal Microsoft-based PKI, a managed third-party solution, or even purchasing third-party certificates, those certificates still need to be managed, and a health check can benefit the organization. The way that management would work for an internal solution is a little bit easier to grasp, but on an external hosted solution or even purchase third-party certificates can also go, I'll call it again, rogue, in that a purchase certificate a lot of times from a third party for a web purpose is a star dot, whatever your organization might be, and then it becomes all too easy to export that private key and move it around. And this really came to light recently with the Heartbleed and the need to track down those certificates and replace them, and how difficult it was to find those once they're already out on networking devices or on various web servers. So it's really important to keep track of those and get a handle on your certificate needs and your PKI. And for your company, understanding or knowing who is using your name or signing for you, a PKI built with no preparation, as I said earlier, will stamp out certificates, and to the end user may look the very same and carry the same weight or assurance level as those with no forethought. But each time that happens, or each time an administrator that has access rolls out a new CA and starts issuing certificates, it is carrying your organization's name and does have that sense of validity because it's coming from that internal environment. And they can be issuing certificates to any number of users devices, domain controllers, web servers, and data encryption, and it can be very time consuming and difficult to clean those up once they're already out there into that production environment. Looking forward, trying to take back the control of certificate usage and making those decisions in a forward-looking way is really what this health check is also about, and calling out where the best practices have changed. Microsoft best practices, for example, have changed dramatically over the years from the number of servers that should be rolled out to support a certain number of users to being supported on virtual servers versus physical, and even the number of tiers in a PKI has changed in the past. So as these have changed, the industry itself has also not really kept up with doing a good job of documenting of how to use or integrate their applications or solutions with an existing PKI. I've seen a lot of applications or devices at times that will just simply call out in directions to stand up a CA or issue a self-signed certificate, really based on the premise that it's easier for their product to get up and running and with little forward looking at what the ramifications of that are. And this could even be just something as simple as only supporting a short key, a 1024 linked key, which limits what we can do and how we can do it. So taking that control back rather than letting those applications and things like that and rogue administrators build for us, taking back those decisions and driving that forward is what this health check can also help do from a standpoint of understanding where we are. So the best way to, or one of the good ways to rein it back in is to find out where we stand, and that can be accomplished with our health check. The health check is put together with the idea that someone from our group would come in and be on site to conduct on-site interviews and understand the environment as it's currently built in your organization, and then be able to have those conversations and interviews to really find out not only is there, are there problems, but are there things missing? Be able to do a deeper dive into the environment than a lot of times other means are just looking up information through books or online sources or something like that. So we can apply that real-world knowledge specifically to your environment, allowing us to tailor that to how it would fit, because we all know no two environments are identical. The on-site and interview process also gives us a chance to discuss with clients the what if we wanted to. That I get that question that starts that way a lot. Is, well, what if we wanted to, whether it's do web enrollment or support device enrollment or certificates to bring your own device type scenario. So we can kind of walk through those and talk through them as they come up in kind of a spurious fashion, where something that you don't get a lot of times through other means of communication and talking through it. And at the end, after we're done with having those conversations and interviews and whatnot, the report that we come up with that calls out where our current state is of this environment on a technical aspect, but also then applying that to a best practice, if you will, and then looking at the deltas. Where are we possibly lacking? What areas need attention? And then it would call those out and be able to give an organization a place to start and know where to focus their effort on first. And knowing where to start really is to me, and PKI, one of the most important things, in that you can't move forward and build a solid PKI or infrastructure without having that solid foundation. I mean, it's critical, and I would say that for directions, you need a starting point and you need an end point. And the end point is what clients want it to be, or the services they want to provide, and that starting point is what we're looking to try to help them provide and have and be ready to move forward. So the benefits of the health check, and understanding where the opportunities may lie, and being able to call those out and bring those to the surface, it will allow us to review existing documentation or identify any missing documentation that could pose a risk. The on-site visit allows for sharing of the old tips and tricks that we've learned over the years in various engagements and troubleshooting. That flow is much easier when it's being done on site, and that knowledge transfer can be invaluable to organizations that might not have a full-time person or team adminning their PKI. And then in that same line, so looking at an organization or looking at how things are currently being done or utilized, there's oftentimes opportunities to reduce complexity and reduce cost. So things such as reducing the number of servers. I said earlier that in the past, Microsoft best practice may have said you needed 5 PKI servers, or 5 servers representing different things. So we can look at that now and say, well, the load isn't there, so we may be able to consolidate and move that functionality over down to maybe 3, something like that, or also look at the possibility of going from physical servers, if they're still out there, to a virtual environment, and that can free up space, free up cost, but also it can reduce the complexity, because everyone knows it's easier to snapshot or use that virtual technology than it is to load tapes or the other options that might be out there for for doing backups and things like that on the process of keeping your environment backed up and safe. So the health check can also bring out some red flags, things that might be easy for an organization to miss. Sometimes just that second set of eyes helps. The ability to see areas that might not seem like it's a risk, but an example might be having too many certificates published at any given time on a CA, where maybe that certificate is too wide open as far as access goes, or maybe too many people have access to the CA, but something that someone could take and expand on. So something where they get a certificate and it can be exported, or whatever it might be, but just calling out those areas that might lead to more trouble and have farther reaching effects than maybe would show on the surface. So how the process would work. So the first week would be used for gathering the information, and I'll say that experience shows that the better able we are to understand more before we get there, the better off it is for everyone. So the more pre-work we can do, we can hit the ground running, with at least a base knowledge of what we're going into, and that it's better for everyone. The client gets more out of it, and it's better for us to be able to contribute and really show that extra value. I mentioned earlier that sometimes PKI management doesn't always get top billing, or it gets kind of pushed to the back. So identifying some key team members that are going to be responsible to do this health check and to kind of receive this knowledge transfer is critical, and really benefits the company once we leave, because they're more able to support them going forward. And then, so after the first week of gathering the information and the interviews and talking with everyone, looking at everything, and then we would leave, go off-site, and produce that report. And the report is going to contain all these items of interest that we've talked about, what the environment actually is, and then, as I said also earlier, that how that environment looks as compared to maybe a best practice. And then we look for, we can look for those deltas, call those out, so we know what it is that might be of more concern than other, and we can call out missing documents, like for instance for disaster recovery, or is there a good backup document? Do you have a good certificate policy or a certificate practice statement? Some important dates for when our certificate's going to expire, revocation checking, all those things will be called out, and even if it's all documented now, it's going to give us kind of a summary document where someone can look at that and really get a lot of what they're going to need to assess and know where that PKI stands for that organization. And it's a great foundation from which to look forward and build or add capabilities. So we know where we stand, and we know what it would take to get to, for instance, adding additional role features, or moving to a different version of the Windows Server platform.
Hey, Jake, we've got a question. Maybe it's a good time to pause and answer this. So the question is, a PKI Health Check is very important, and it's a good idea. How is an OCG health check different than a Microsoft PKI Health Check? Meaning, what are the benefits you offer to complement or exceed Microsoft's recommendations?
Okay, so that's a great question. And what I can say is I've taken part in Microsoft health checks, and I will say that they are good, absolutely. Where the health checks that I was involved in with Microsoft might not shine as brightly would be, for instance, if there are third-party tools involved, if there are HSMs, hardware security modules, involved in an environment. The health checks I was involved in with Microsoft are laser-focused, and they don't really expand outside of that column. So, like for instance, if an organization has some older HSMs or a third-party management solution, where we have experience with both of those, and can kind of take it all in and look at it kind of on a larger scale, the Microsoft health checks seem to focus more on the PKI itself running on those Windows servers. So
very good. Thanks, Jake.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So on the next slide, what's next after? What are our options? What are our next steps going to be after we've gone through the initial phases of being on site, understanding where we stand, the report. So now it's time that we go over that report and possibly put together some steps on, what are we going to do next. So at the very least, at the end of the health check, the client's going to know where they stand, which should allow them to really give them that starting point for those directions on how to get somewhere. So they should have that, and then we can look at other options at what is our desired state. Is it to consolidate an existing PKI to meet their current needs? Are they fine with that? Is it to upgrade or migrate that PKI infrastructure to a new server platform, even possibly upgrading HSMs, because the industry right now is going through a wave where a lot of the first generation hardware security modules are phasing out and reaching end of life. So this is also a great time if you're going to do your PKI, or if you're going to do your HSMs, you do them both together. It just makes sense. Bundle it all in at once and get it done. Or if possibly looking forward, an organization sees that there's going to be a greater need for a higher assurance level, and they want to essentially scale up or add that additional assurance, move from a software-based PKI to a protection of the private keys to a hardware-based, where we bring in the hardware security modules and let those protect and secure our private keys, and then build from there. So basically allowing us to provide that additional assurance, and also adding in the additional security that hardware security modules would bring, and can also be used for other applications as well, such as RMS or whatever it might be. But this is an integration point or a crossroads oftentimes where organizations will take this as the initiative, or they've come to this crossroads and we go from there. So, and then depending on what we found around the documentation or policy or lack thereof, we can put in place a plan to work out that policy and get that documentation to a point where it catches us up. So because you can't really have a solid policy without having it documented. And so working from from nothing, which I see in a lot of organizations, all the way up to very, very well written, established CPCPSs where they just need to be tweaked or to make sure that they're still valid. And then the last bullet there with around managing that, either that new PKI or consolidated. So giving the people in the organization that are going to be maintaining the environment, the tools and the skills that they need to really do that efficiently and better. So we can do training for small groups or larger groups to the administrators, and also maybe help with suggest how other organizations may have gotten the word out to the end users as well, whether it be self-help or however it's going to be. So that education piece can be very important as well. And so we're at a point in another crossroads with we have the end of life of Server 2003, which is really where a lot of early PKI were started and built. And since reaching end of life, it's kind of another reason. Not only are we requiring more certificates now, we're also end of life for what a lot of the original certificate authorities were built on. And there's new features that are currently added into the newer operating systems as Microsoft has gone along. Each successive version, which we'll show later, adds additional functionality, and some of the pieces early on with management that required possibly a third-party management tool are being baked into the operating system now, and so it you might be able to cover it all with a new build or something on say a 2012 R2 server that on 2003 required additional moving pieces. And similarly, like I said, with the HSMs, a lot of the vendors are getting ready to retire their old devices, coming out with new functionality that will allow their hardware security modules to be more dynamic and serve organizations in a better way, as far as possibly sharing or splitting up the usage of those HSMs. So they're also included here, and we're also coming up to a lot of other dates with Microsoft and the consortium saying, we're going to move past the SHA-1 or anything like that. So it's kind of a perfect storm, and these are the reasons that we're looking at and seeing the need to upgrade the PKI infrastructure. Another one I wanted to just throw out there real quick was November 1st, 2015. Any organization who currently has a non-routable domain suffix is no longer be able to purchase or get a certificate issued to it, like a .local, anything that's a non-routable suffix. So, which would require either an internal PKI or some other means to have those certificates available. So there's a lot of changes that are happening right now, and now is a good time to start looking at and finding out what is going to be required in the very near future. And again, with the Windows Server 2003, since it was a mainstay or some of the first operating system where PKI really was prevalent, no more hot fixes, no more patches, which equates to additional vulnerabilities, and which we want to limit ourselves from. So using this as the impetus to look forward, move off of 2003, which I did look up for this, was officially released on April 24th, 2003, which is 11 years. So that's a long time in our industry for something to be around, and we think what our phone looks like after a couple of years. So 11 years for an operating system is a long time. Moving to a supported operating system, 2008, and then any flavor all the way up to the 2012 R2 is going to provide additional functionality, and it's going to reduce those vulnerabilities because it is a supported operating system. So doing a health check at this point, it's a great place to start, whether it's the end of life for the operating system, whether your HSMs are at end of life, you need additional functionality. Your PKIs have kind of snowballed out of control. Maybe there's PKIs out there, if we take a look, that we didn't even really know existed. So tracking those down, getting a handle on all this is what needs to be done, and the PKI Health Check is really a great way to start that process and get it going. And I think I mentioned earlier, here's a slide we put together with comparing the different functionality of or roles and features of the different operating systems. So, looking at the 2003 all the way up to the 2012 R2, and as I also said, some of the things that we did in 2003 where we possibly needed a third-party tool or something to help us in 2012 is baked in. So, for instance, the certificate enrollment, the web service, things that we maybe used to have to go through a couple of hops to do, is built in now. It's just a server role. So, also things like integration with TPMs, which are in a lot, if not most, of our current laptops and computers, to do things with storing certificates on those, virtual smart cards. So the technology has continued to grow, and I don't want to drain this whole thing, but what I'd really just like to show here is that there's a definite wave of red on the left, green on the right, and kind of see where it's going. So just kind of another reason to be looking forward. Any other questions or comments out there?
In fact, I guess in preparation for some of the questions as people are typing them in, I'm going to put a poll out here because I think you know, the points that Jake has made here probably jingled some thoughts in a lot of your minds. So I think you know, that here's one poll for you. It'd be interesting to understand from you. Over the past year, certificate use across your enterprise, you know, has it decreased? Has it stayed the same? Has it increased or significantly increased? All right, I'll give it about 5 more seconds, and then we'll close the poll. And I think it basically is telling us what we knew. 100% of you said that it's increased, so that's good. And then taking a look at, you know, Jake has brought us some really good points about Windows Server 2003 and the risk that imposes of your PKI infrastructure sitting on top of it. So, you know, how many of you does your PKI sit on top of Windows Server 2003 today? We'll give that about 5 more seconds. So I'll share that results with you. 20% of you. So that's still pretty good footprint of critical infrastructure that's sitting on top of the end-of-life operating system. And I think we've got one more for you. And this talks to how centralized control of your PKI infrastructure is, or do you have business units that went out and put their own PKIs in place? So, and maybe you don't know, but that's not an option here. So give it 5 more seconds. All right, we'll share that. Yeah, so it's 50-50 here. Some organizations have full control of their PKI and others do not. So I think that's pretty revealing and can be risky. So good. Thank you for that feedback. And are there any other questions anyone would like to ask before we wrap it up? All right. So Jake, are you able to reshare the presentation? Oh, I need to turn off the poll.
Did the poll close, did it show again?
No, it's not showing the presentation. Yeah, it's showing the poll. Oh well, anyway, as Jake works on that, I'll just draw things to a close here. So we have a number of upcoming webinars. You can go to oxfordcomputergroup.com and see what's on the horizon for webinars. You can register for them there. You can also see our past webinars, recordings of them, as well as this one here. And let's see, can I change presenter? No. And then we also have a number of training sessions coming up, one at the end of this month, and they're all, at this point, Forefront Identity Manager, although we do a public key infrastructure training as well upon demand. So again, that's all available at oxfordcomputergroup.com. You could go out there and see what's available, register, get more information. And you know, on behalf of Oxford Computer Group, I want to thank you for attending. I know your time is valuable, and feel free to reach out to us. We're not sharing the email addresses on the screen right now, but anyone who wants to get a hold of us, you don't have a contact information, you can email info@oxfordcomputergroup.com. And thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.